morning. Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to this panel. Some of the most distinguished directors and creative forces you'll find in cinema and television today. Let's make our introductions. We have Bobby Moresco at the end. Michelle, tell us about your background, if you could.
Use a microphone.
Microphone.
Yes, I am here at this festival, so happy to be here, with a movie called The Runner, with Cameron Douglas and Elizabeth Rome and Eric Balfour. And I've directed several feature films, 5 in total. And I also love theater, so I'm the artistic director of an art center in Santa Monica, the Edgemore Center for the Arts.
Great. Now I want to introduce Fisher Stevens, a remarkable man with a social conscience who's taken issues and brought them to life and made people really realize tragedies, untold tragedies that are happening around the world. And if it wasn't for his spotlight and focus, we wouldn't be aware of such things as the Cove and Dolphin Relief. And it just goes on and on. From a personal point of view, I have great respect for Fisher. He's probably what we would call a triple threat. Acts, directs, advocates, does it all. And you can also see him regularly on the blacklist as James Spader's lawyer. Yaniv?
Hello. I directed a film called Dr. Bird's Advice for Sad Poets, which is playing on Friday. My career has primarily been selling screenplays to Hollywood that don't eventually end up getting produced, but give me a living. I've been in television for the last 10 years, creating shows for basically every network and studio out there, and have recently decided to get back into independent filmmaking because it's what feeds me and it's what I enjoy.
Mr. Haggis?
Oh. I think it's well known that along with Bobby, I am Fisher's bodyguard. And that's pretty much what we do. We have to keep the women away. That's our job.
Clear, I'm the muscle.
That is kind of true.
A remarkable team of Oscar winners. And I think one of the things we want to talk about, or hopefully we'll have time to do, is talking about successful partnerships and creating an energy that not only is respected by the public, but by the industry itself. I want to start with, I know we're talking about international cinema, but I'd like to start with the role that directors feel they should take about dealing with events that are happening in our lives around us, like COVID. Question, and I'd like to start with Bobby. Do you think that it is the director's responsibility to develop in these times escapist fare so we can forget the tragedies, or should we really be concentrating on what's impacting us daily?
Thank you, Andrew. I think the answer is both. I think that if you don't find some way in that you care personally about a subject, then you're not going to be able to write, direct, or do anything else with it. So I think that whatever grabs you when you wake up in the morning and say, this is something I need to discover about myself that I can explore through the creative process, other people might care about it as well. I think it all begins there. For myself, I'm doing both. I'm developing a comedy on stage with Lyle Kessler, the great playwright of Orphans, and I'm also doing a film about 3 generations of women caught in the opiate crisis. I care about both those subjects. So I think it begins with what you yourself care about. And then you take it and you develop into something maybe somebody else might care about.
Anyone else have anything to add on that topic? What do you think, Paul?
I think what Bobby said is correct. You can't determine what is what. I mean, and as a director or as anybody in the business, I mean, you can't find a better example of that than Fisher, who does his films, does escapist fare, does his his socially conscious piece, and then but then puts himself on the line constantly for those issues behind the scenes. So, yeah.
And let's close, if you would, with your comments, Fisher, about the balance between entertainment and social awareness, which you've been incredibly successful in raising in the public side.
Thanks. Well, I think, Paul and Bobby both with Crash and that great film you did with Tommy Lee Jones, In the Valley of Allah, which was also very contemporary, very current, dealing with some seriously hard issues. I try to balance it too. I'm really struggling. I've been during COVID decided to embed myself with a group of Republicans called the Lincoln Project that have been fighting Donald Trump, and now I have to watch it every day and watch cuts, and it's a nightmare because I'm reliving this constantly. Yeah, yeah, right. So, but then I could go and act on Succession or Blacklist and escape. So I think a balance. Otherwise, you could lose your mind, and especially in these times that we all live in, it's very tricky. I think well represented here by these guys and everybody. I haven't seen your films yet, but I think it is important for a director also to keep up with what's going on, but make it entertaining. You know, like when we make documentaries that are about the Lincoln Project or climate change, which is a disaster, which is, I don't even want to get into right now what's going on, but we still have to make them entertaining and make people not beat people over the head, but try to make them like engaged and entertained so that they take action.
Just to follow up on what Fisher just said, so I'm recently got a script that I'm directing, that Village Roadshow is producing. It's an Australian film called The Great Emu War, and it's a comedy starring John Cleese, and John Cleese co-wrote it. And it's an anti-war film, but the war is climate change, using a historical event, which is the Australian Army fought a bunch of emus during the Great Depression and lost. But it gets the message across. I know it's ridiculous. It actually happened, but it gets the message across. The climate change message, the message that we need to live more peacefully with our environment. But it does it, as Fisher said, it does it without browbeating. Without it insinuates the message into an entertaining shell. Yeah.
And just to add one thing to it, I think that because in a way there is a mandate to entertain. I mean, just talking about the Lincoln Project, promos that came out, they were so effective because if they find the mix of being about something that's really important and entertaining at the same time, that's when I think they can have real power.
Here we are in Italy, one of the most beautiful locations, not only on Earth, but in anyone's imagination. It's just remarkable. And not only the environment, but the tradition of Italian filmmaking and how that has impacted other artists around the world. There was a discussion where I had heard somebody say that there seems to be a feeling that the great tradition of Italian filmmaking seems to be back. There's an energy, there's an enthusiasm. What have you as directors, learned from the Italian tradition that maybe you incorporate into your own stylistic approaches? Bobby?
Well, it's a really difficult question.
I know.
I wish you had asked Fisher or Paul that. They probably have an answer.
A good one.
Listen, I'm Italian.
That's right.
And my family is from Genoa on my father's side. I'm also Irish on my father's side.
Bobby's just stalling now, trying to think of what
I
to say.
know.
Just so you notice that. Everybody knows that.
So
Fisher and I brought it up. We would do exactly the same. They've asked this. No.
So I'm going to give you my real answer now. Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think?
Please give Paul the mic.
No, I think what we learn is, from the neorealists and on up, you learn to try and tell the truth.
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean, and the truth is whether it's Fellini or Pasolini and their truths, or whether it's the truths of the new release, or what you see being done by the young, wonderful filmmakers today. So I think it's just telling the truth. That good, Bobby?
Yeah.
For you, good.
Not only that, I'm really happy I thought of saying that.
Well done.
I also would just like to add from the reason I became a filmmaker, like so many people did, was 8.5. Probably just because it romanticized directing to a point that I couldn't. That it was just, I was so craven I needed to have it. But the reason, besides telling the truth and the neorealists, obviously, I just watched Bicycle Thieves 3 nights ago. My God, it's so amazing. But I was also compelled because what I like about Italian cinema that I grew up on watching, which is mostly the stuff from the 60s and 70s, and which I've brought into my practice, which is unusual these days, unfortunately, is the mixture of different genres, the farce, the satire, and the tragedy all mixed together, which accentuate one another rather than just being straight drama, which is so typical now, or straight comedy, straight satire. It has the whole full force of life when you mix them, and it works when it works. And obviously they did it in a way that worked so gorgeously. Even La Grande Bellezza, which came out a couple of years ago, part of that tradition, it just worked so well. Just moments of terrible tragedy, and then moments of just high farce or satire.
Let's talk a bit about the business and how it's been impacted by COVID and the difference in the popularity of streaming versus theatrical release. I think it's something that's still evolving, but Fisher, can you speak to how our habits are changing and what we're going to be used to as time goes on?
Well, the film that I made that's playing tomorrow night, I have never seen it with an audience. This is going to be the first time that I've ever seen this film. And when I was making it before COVID, I was like, oh, this is going to be for an audience in the cinema. But we had to finish it during COVID and basically only showed it to 4 distributors: Apple, Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. That was it. We didn't even show it to distributors. So in that sense, it's really crazy. I think we got a good audience because of it, maybe, but I don't know. And then the other show that I worked on that helped with COVID was Tiger King, which, I remember we were on our way to the premiere to LA, and Netflix called us literally the day before we were supposed to leave, and they said, we have good news and bad news. The bad news is the premiere is canceled. The good news is you're going to have a huge audience because nobody's going to be going out. So that's how they think. Yeah, great news, pandemic. Everyone's gonna go and join Netflix again. So yeah, so it's pretty crazy. And just being on set, I mean, my nose is just scabbed up from being tested every day, all the time. And the first on Succession we wore masks and face shields for the first 5 months, so we would rehearse. It was really strange, really strange. So, I mean, it's a little better now, but I think you're going to see. Also, the budgets are inflated because COVID is a line item, and it's a very big line item in everything right now. So, I think and streaming obviously is out of control. So, it's changed.
Yaniv, you had said something interesting about what's going on in Australia and the success of theatrical release. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Well, it's strange because obviously everybody's talking about the death of theatrical exhibition, and like Fisher, my new movie premiered on Hulu, so I've never seen it with. Paramount had it, and then it went on to another studio, and then premiered on Hulu. I've never seen it with an audience. But this new movie that I'm doing in Australia, they're demanding to have a theatrical release. So there are these sort of I don't know if you want to call them microclimates of exhibition. And the reason is because it's Village Roadshow in Australia, and Australia, since it's been doing well, has been making more money in theatrical exhibition than they had prior to the pandemic. So Australian films released in Australia are making 20, $30 million, and these are smaller Australian films in theatrical exhibition, whereas in America you can't get anybody to go to a theater. Yeah, so it's interesting that it can be different regionally, whether people stream or watch in theaters, which is why I want to go to Australia.
Paul, do you have anything to add?
No.
Well,
John.
I want to
Michelle?
say that I just think that there's nothing like the power of bringing people together and watching a screening of a movie, whether it be, a big budget movie or an independent movie. And I think as this pandemic hopefully, comes to some sort of an end, I don't think that theatrical will ever be killed. I think that we will come back and we will have theatrical releases. I really feel that. So I want to have the positive, hope.
A practical question about productions that were in play before they were shut down by COVID. A perfect example of this is a remarkable piece that Bobby had brought to off-Broadway called Drift, a family saga of life through brothers' eyes. It had a couple of previews, and then it was shut down by COVID. There were years and years and years of prep for that. What happens to an idea that you've invested all those years in, and all of a sudden it's aborted by COVID?
That's really a great question. And it was not just us, it was everyone. We closed down 2 days before opening.
Yep.
Billy, the playwright, had developed it at my theater company for a period of about 5 years, and I was a part of the process, so I was as invested as he was. We hired for the lead Joe Pantoliano, who was an old friend, and we hadn't worked together since Paul and I did a show with him called Easy Streets, 1996 or so. So it was a big, special, wonderful occasion for me to go to work with people that I love about a project that I cared about. And when we realized we were about to be closed, and then eventually were closed, it was a destruction that truly a destruction. And we held on for about 4 months. The theater was really lovely. They kept the setup for us, maybe 5 months. There was no rent that had to be paid. And then eventually they said, guys, we've got to tear the set down. And once you tear the set down on a big off-Broadway production, you're dead. You start all over again. All the actors had to be worked out in terms of the payment that they had to be paid, rightly so. The crew had to be paid. And so all those things, for an off-Broadway show are pretty much insurmountable. The budget for a small off-Broadway play is the same as the budget for a small independent film, almost.
That's right.
It's almost $1 million to do a small off-Broadway show now. Yeah, it was close to $1 million. And so I don't know how you come back from that. I really don't. And so the playwright has gone to work on another play. I'm directing a new play of Lau's play, and you move on. I don't know how else to do that. Maybe one day the playwright will come back to me and say, hey, can we consider this again? And I'll look at it again. But for now, it's like a death in the family. You move on. I wish I had a better answer, but I don't have one. Yeah.
Fisher, did you were there any projects that you were involved with that were compromised by COVID?
No, I started shooting 2 documentaries during COVID.
Which?
The Lincoln Project and a film about the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club in New Orleans that
Oh,
was
yeah.
very affected by COVID, and it's kind of crazy that I went. This being directed by a great a young talented director named Matthew Henderson, and we just read this article in the New York Times. Why are African Americans being affected by COVID more than others? And it was at the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club, which I was hanging out at when I was making Palmer with those people, so I knew them. So I thought, oh, we should film them. But no, the only thing that was affected really was that the change of selling Palmer, and that was about it. But so many friends of mine, like Bobby's in the theater in New York. I mean, it's the and the theater everywhere. It was devastating, devastating. So that and yeah.
So as I said, there's no coming back. You
Yeah.
the next project.
What theater were you at?
We were at the World Stages on 50th
Oh God. Oh man.
Almost on Broadway.
Yeah. So yeah.
Paul, I want to ask you about your sense of social responsibility because you created something that really had a remarkable impact with the Haiti Relief Project. What was obviously the earthquake is what the motivation was, but what's the status of it now and what's its impact been about providing training and jobs for people who are looking for that?
Well, actually, no, it wasn't the earthquake. We were there a couple of years before the quake.
Thank you for
So that by the time when the quake happened, Sean Penn and other friends who really wanted to help and be really effective, called me and said where, and I was able to help a little bit but they did incredible things. Sean especially, Maria, a lot of folks did great things there. We concentrated on building a school because there was no school for the kids of the slums, no school from grade 6 through grade 13. There wasn't one. If you're lucky enough to go to school, if you're in the slums, which is like half the kids, you can only go as far as grade 6. Mm-hmm. That's it. And those are private. So we partnered with the St. Luke Foundation, a wonderful foundation run by a fellow called Father Rick Frochette, who's a doctor and priest. But it's all run by Haitians and engineered by Haitians and administered by them, everything. And so we decided to support folks on the ground, and we built a school for 4,000 people. We have 4,000 kids there until COVID. Now, because of COVID, and sadly because of the extreme political unrest, as you've seen in the last, demonstrated recently, but it's been, Haiti is, it's a very sad place right now, and it was always a pretty sad place, but now it's just, it's hard. And so I have those 4,000 kids on my conscience who can't go to school right now because it's the extreme violence there. So we're trying to educate them at home. We go with buying iPads and things like this. But then it's the matter of, they live in the slums. They live in shacks the size of this with dirt floors and not exactly Wi-Fi friendly. So there's all that battle to get through. But we really trust our friends on the ground and who are just so committed and so wonderful. The Haitian people who fight so hard not to be victims. They don't want to be victims, These are strong people. These are independent people. That's why they don't want right now troops marching in from America or the UN, because every time they betrayed them. And that's, Fisher knows this well. And so we have a long history of, excuse the language, fucking over Haiti, America and France especially. So no wonder they don't trust us. That said, something needs to be done. It's hard there right now, really hard. I don't have the answers, but we try. We keep trying every day.
Obviously, Fisher, your work is clearly present in all of your choices. Do you think, because you are, again, using that phrase, triple threat, do you, come on, you did Broadway. You are triple threat.
Oh, quadruple at least.
There you go. Do you think that as an actor, it's made you a better director? Or talk about the connectivity of approaching art from two different places.
I love working with actor-directors as an actor as well. I think, I hope I learned as an actor how to give direction. I mean, Jesus, I've been doing it since I was 15 years old, so...
Is that when you got your finger cut off?
Oh, that was when I was 16. 15 was like, off Broadway in a church basement doing Emlyn Williams' The Corn is Green. But, 16 was Harvey Weinstein's first movie called The Burning with his brother, Bob. Horror film. I got my fingers chopped off. Yeah. That taught me how to direct actors. No. Yeah. No. Yeah, right. Exactly. But yeah, I think I do think it helped me for sure. I mean, and then there's there's other directors that weren't actors, but there's like Bobby in the theater. If you come from the theater directors often can give good direction, but it all depends. It's very individual. The one thing back to Italian cinema, I agree with everything these two said, but I also wanted to add there's a style that Italian cinema had that influenced me, and I think the one thing that directors need is taste. And taste is a very important element, I think. Now, everybody's taste is subjective and different, but taste is a very important element to, I think, directing, because it's in terms of who you cast, in terms of who you hire to shoot it, where you put, your ideas of putting the camera and the clothes and the color schemes and, all that. So I think taste I don't know, but being an actor, to get back to it, I hope it helped, but helped me with Justin Timberlake for sure, because I loved to show, he'd say, come on, let's do we literally read the screenplay, the two of us, out loud a few times, so I got to read all the parts. It was really fun, but so.
Got it. This is a question for everyone. What do you think is the greatest takeaway from being in this international environment? Why is Ischia important? Paul?
Bobby?
Michelle?
Michelle, please.
Michelle, you started.
Yeah.
I'm happy to try to answer the question. I just watched the Buñuel film, that obscure Object of Desire. And he did something in that movie that no American filmmaker would have ever tried. He cast two different actresses in the same role and had them play the same character in two different scenes. One of the actors walked into a bedroom, when she came out, it was the other actress. And you bought it completely. Okay, so the difference between American films and the European films is that, as Fisher just said, not only just taste, but their ideas are accepted more readily to go after something. To go after something, say, this is my idea, so let's go there. Now, some of it has to do with funding. Funding comes from governments all over Europe. But the other thing has to do with the willingness to try new stuff. It's more difficult to try new things in America than it might be in other places in the world. So you watch world cinema, like Buñuel, and you say, oh, wow, I can try that. I can try that. And then you fight for it. So I think that's a big difference, For lack of a better word, we tend to be more conventional in America than worldwide, in my opinion. Paul, how'd I do?
You did very, very well, Bobby.
Thank you. Michelle, please.
Well, I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, okay. Pascal? Yes. Dave? Yes. She's saying Pascal should come in.
Yeah. Actually, Pascal, your timing is perfect, because this
Why?
question is something that I really wanted to ask you. Tell me about the evolution of Ischia and how it had turned from an idea into a powerful juggernaut that we see right now, with its international assembly of people. But was your dream the same as what it turned into?
No, this is not a dream. This is the result of a very hard job. And if you can see on this table, the only brand new friend is Michel Donner, who actually is becoming, I'm sure, becoming one of the part of the family, as you are, Andrew. I'm so glad that Fisher got back here. Fisher is one of the historical supporter of the festival, as well as Paul and Bobby Moresco. I'm also very happy that Yaniv is back here. He was a long time ago with Eder Graham, and since then he always has been very enthusiastic whenever he saw me. So literally we make a big effort in order to organize this, but then the big supporter, more than the finance people, are these amazing talents. We have 3 Oscar winners on this table: Yaniv Raz, Michel Donner, you, Andrew. And this is not just some place where you want to go and you want to go away. This is a place where Fisher, in order to come here, flew from England with all the struggling situation that he had to go through with the COVID test. Now he was already preparing for a COVID test to go back to England, where his family is now staying. So, but it's all about, as we say on the cover of our magazine, art and friendship. And sometimes friendship and values and art is more important than money. So literally we never paid anybody to come to Ischia. We never made any type of commitment special to convince people to come. And the word of Bobby Moresco, Fisher Stevens, Paul Haggis, Yaniv, and Freedman is more important than money. So this festival is something money can buy. You know, it's a combination of wonderful location, great contents, great people attending, sharing ideas, trying to combine their project. Yesterday we announced here a new movie by Oscar winner Billy August with writer Eri De Luca that was actually born this idea here last year. We have in this moment Steven Zelian shooting in Roma, soon will be to Capri for his replay TV series, and another gentleman who's just left us a few years ago, Anthony Minghella, came to Capri and then decided to shoot Mr. Ripley here in Ischia and in Citara. Being a Neapolitan, being from Campania region, I always have felt blessed, and this is the reason I started all of a sudden, in 1995 Capri during the winter, which seemed to be a crazy idea, and few people was believing that this event was going to succeed, and now it's becoming part of the awards campaign. And I mean, the summer, literally in the Naples and the Salerno Bay, between Sorrento, Amalfi, Positano, Ravello, Amalfi, and then Pompei, Ercolano, and then Caserta, and then Cilento, and Irpinia, Sannio. So there are so many beautiful things to live, to share, that even without the festival, Hollywood has been since ages. I mean, since the ancient Greeks, the ancient Roman, they used to share their emotion here. So essentially, what Ischia did, that combined all these issues, and we structured an event that annually bring and live on the land so many great emotions. So Fisher last year wanted to make it and couldn't make it, but he sent us an amazing movie about the Formula E that he produced with Leonardo DiCaprio, Alejandro Agag, and we screened it. This year is bringing a movie that he did for Apple Television, Palmer, and this is the first time that this movie will be screened on a big screen, no?
Yeah, first time ever, primera volta.
So this means a lot to us. I mean, Fisher is one of the most beloved person of this business. Anybody in Hollywood knows and loves Fisher Stevens. No, that's true, Fisher. And
I need to come more often to Ischia to get these compliments from everybody.
no, but Fisher, I mean.
Your bodyguard just standing by.
Yeah. So Paul was writing his book. I said, Fisher just arrived from Milan. He's already in the panel. So I made him run on my scooter like he never did. I think that he won't come with me on the scooter anymore.
I'll come back with you. I go back on your scooter.
Okay. So he gets your car. Anyway, Andrew, you want to go ahead with the?
There's one actually
Yeah.
popped into my head just to bring the international movie community up to speed on the status of certain projects that are originating here in Italy and deserve to be. Bobby has been involved with a project called Lamborghini for a while, and I'm hoping you might be able to bring us up to speed on the status of the project.
Sure.
Yes, sorry, sorry.
Again, Lamborghini was designed to shoot the first half of the film, which takes place in 1945, just after the war, with the young Lamborghini coming home, and to shoot with the younger cast, then take a 3-month break to adjust for the schedules of our actors for the older Lamborghini and others in the film. And we did that, and we shut down, and then instead of coming back, COVID hit. So for a year and a half, we've been trying to come back and finish our movie. And then we lost actors, lead actors. Some came back, some we lost again. We had a start date to finish shooting again 3 different times over the last year and a half, and each time COVID shut us down. We are back on schedule. I leave here for Rome on Monday to start pre-production to finish shooting the movie finally.
Great.
Thank you. And we're all thank you, and we're all happy we're doing it. Thank you.
I mean, one of the things I think that, COVID showed us is, just living in the U.S., it wasn't just in the U.S., it was global. It was the whole entire world suffered from this. And, I just feel like we're all so much a reminder that we're all in it together. And a film festival like Ischia and what Pascal has managed to do, and I know he gets so many compliments, but the truth of the matter, it's incredible what he's put together. And because there's movies from all over the world, and we're having this communal experience, which we need, it reminds us how much we're all in it together. I mean, I remember having studied with Stella Adler, and that, of course, ages me tremendously. But she said, you should be able to go up to an artist all over the world, you being an artist, and introduce yourselves to them and say, can we just have a conversation? Can we have a cup of coffee? And I think this very much, I find this festival is bringing everybody together in that way, that hope that she, the wish that she had for all artists everywhere.
I want to take a little different direction here because we have some activity going on my right. It looks like there could be a terrific presentation of culinary skills. And I would love to have you explain, Chef, what we have going on here.
Let me use this. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul.
No, just hold on.
Oh, right.
Allora, adesso diciamo che in questo piatto siamo completamente neanche a Ischia, proprio qui fuori, perché questi è una linguina con riccio di mare.
Actually, with this dish, we are not even in Ischia. We're just here outside at sea because these are sea urchins.
Questi sono ricci pescati vicino al castello aragonese, quindi da queste parti qui.
So this has been fished here near the castle, so really nearby.
Excuse me, you are stealing my only issue. I mean, this is my moment. And yes, this is my moment with Ciro. I created this corner, so you want to do it without me, Bruna? I don't understand.
It's not me.
Who is
He
Andrew?
started speaking and
Andrew
I
was
just
screwing
followed.
me. You are screwing with me, my moment with okay. So today with Ciro, we sent this postcard to Stanley Tucci, who actually came here to see how do they make the rabbit in
The
Ischia style. But today, Ciro is showing you the best pasta in the world with the sea urchin.
È un po',
Il
forse un
riccio.
po' tanto, però comunque il riccio di mare è un piatto un po' difficile da trovare.
It's rather difficult dish to find.
Perché c'è un periodo dell'anno dove non si possono
Can fish it.
Because
prendere.
there is a time in the year where you cannot fish sea urchins.
Maggio e giugno sono i mesi dove non si può pescare il riccio per un fermo biologico.
May and June it is not possible to fish sea urchins because there is a stop in order for them to be able to reproduce.
Ed è importante rispettare anche il mare, anche la
And we
sua-
absolutely need to respect
il-
the sea.
Sì. E questo qui è una linguina dove il sughetto si fa in 1 minuto.
And
perché
this
sennò-
dish, this linguina, has, the sauce, it takes 1 minute to make.
perché se no il riccio si spappola e quindi non
Otherwise,
esiste più
the
nel
sea urchin
piatto.
becomes too soft, and then you don't you don't get the taste of it anymore.
È un piatto molto di abilità, velocità
It's take a
e
skill and speed to make it properly.
e il segreto di fare una buona linguina al riccio è pescare il riccio, aprirlo e cucinarlo.
And the secret of
Questo-
having a good linguina with the sea urchin is to fish the sea urchin, open it, and cook it straight away.
Ed è importante usare anche l'acqua che praticamente fuoriesce proprio
And it is also
dal
important to use
frutto.
the water which comes out from the urchin itself.
E quindi è un piatto proprio di mare, quindi
So
un piatto
it's
nostro,
really,
ischitano
really
completamente.
seafood dish, typical of
Stanley,
Ischia.
take note.
Sì.
Grazie, Ciro, grazie mille. No, before we close this moment, I would like to ask one more question, both to Yaniv and to Fisher. So, Yaniv, we are watching your movie here. So, you want to tell something about your movie that we see here?
Oh yeah, I mentioned it before, but basically it's an adaptation of a novel about a kid. It's called Dr. Bird's Advice for Sad Poets. It's about a kid with a terrible case of anxiety disorder and depression, which apparently I think the whole world is probably suffering from after the last year and a half. But having followed up again on what Fisher was saying about Italian cinema and where my where my style comes from, it has a magical realist tone, which is kind of, as Bobby was saying, hard to do in America these days because it's not as accepted as it is overseas. And so there's a bird, there's a pigeon who is his his Freudian psychoanalyst that he speaks to. There's a poster of Walt Whitman who speaks to him and gives him advice. And it's a tragedy, and it's very difficult, but it's also got tons of magical realist elements in it, and yeah, and it's bizarre. But again, as everybody here was saying, my style is just born of a lot of Italian cinema and a lot of foreign cinema. And it is tough to do that in the States right now. I just got lucky because somebody decided to put up the money, yeah, that's what it's about.
And of course, I want to know more about this movie, Palmer, another piece directed by Fisher that shows how sensitive this artist that goes from the environment to the human feeling with a very, very fast way, the same way he lives his life, fast.
Yeah. Where are we? Ischia. Okay, yeah. So this is a different style. This is very realism, I guess. I've been making a lot of documentaries, and this is much more in that vein of a documentary, kind of dropping yourself into this fictional town, but really it's like a real town in red state America, kind of very Trump-heavy America, where there's this 7-year-old boy who likes to wear dresses and plays with dolls, and all of his friends are girls, and he is a bit of a misfit. And Justin Timberlake plays an ex-high school football star who's committed a terrible crime and is getting out of jail, and these two misfits find each other and kind of create their own family. There's a 7-year-old boy who actually was 7 when we made it, who I think is remarkable, named Ryder Allen, that you will all get to see tomorrow night, because he was just like a miracle, thank goodness. And Timberlake plays a part he's never kind of played before, so looking forward to you guys seeing it.
It's based on a true story?
It's based on
fiction?
It's based on 2 true stories. The writer was a 7-year-old woman at the time who felt like a boy, so she put herself in that position, and then she had a friend who was based on a high school football star who committed a crime and is coming out of jail, so she put them together.
You combined the 2
I
stories.
didn't, she did it.
Oh,
I
she did.
cannot write like these guys. I cannot do that, but yes, so she did it. Cheryl Guerrero, great writer.
Okay, so thank you so much, Andrew Freedman, Michelle Danner, Bobby Moresco, Paul Haggis, and Yaniv. Fisher, I need you here. See you later, guys.